The stars above Redwood Vale didn't just disappear. They were devoured by shadows too massive to comprehend. Dr. Lena Torres clutched her son, Alex, against her chest as the sky itself seemed to crack open. Crimson energy lanced down from orbit, turning the horizon into a wall of light and heat. The ground beneath her feet trembled, not from impact, but from sheer atmospheric pressure weapons designed to erase civilizations. Redwood Vale. Population, 3.1 million. 37 years of sweat, hope, and dreams poured into fertile soil beneath a gentle amber sun. No armies, no defenses, just families who built libraries, schools, and futures. Now it was all turning to ash. "Mom, why is the sky screaming?" Alex whispered, his voice barely audible over the roar of incoming destruction. Lena didn't answer. She couldn't. She just ran. The evacuation bunkers loomed ahead, reinforced titanium doors already swarming with thousands of desperate souls. Mothers carried infants. The elderly stumbled. Children sobbed for parents lost in the chaos. Behind them, the northern farming district simply ceased to exist. One moment, golden wheat fields stretched to the horizon. The next, nothing. Just a crater glowing with residual heat, the air shimmering with ionized particles. The alien armada had arrived 4 days prior. 53 warships flying the banner of the Dominion Compact, a coalition of 39 species claiming authority over this sector of space. Their ultimatum had been cold, clinical, delivered by a reptilian commander named Veskril of the Sorok warrior caste. This system falls within protected territory. Your presence violates compact law. You have 45 minutes to evacuate. Non-compliance will be met with orbital sanction. Governor Elena Park had begged, pleaded, explained that Redwood Vale had existed for nearly 4 decades, that surveys showed no prior claims, that millions couldn't simply vanish in under an hour. She'd asked for 40 days to organize transport, time to gather belongings, to say goodbye, to mourn the only home most colonists had ever known. Veskril had given them 40 minutes instead. Now, crammed into Shelter Theta, 7 with nearly 1,000 others in a space built for 300, Lena held Alex and lied. "We're safe here, baby. Help is coming. Everything's going to be okay." Around them, families huddled in the flickering emergency lights. Old Marcus, who ran the repair shop, the Chun family, all 8 of them. Dr. Okoye, who delivered half the colony's children, now struggling to organize medical supplies with trembling hands. The bombardment lasted 9 hours. Each impact shook the bunker like a giant's fist. Dust rained from the ceiling. The temperature climbed as heat bled through meters of reinforced composite. The lights failed 3 times, plunging them into suffocating darkness filled with screams. When silence finally came, it felt worse than the explosions. Governor Park's voice never returned to the emergency broadcast system. The surface sensor showed lethal radiation levels and temperatures exceeding 300 degrees. The colony, their world, was gone. They waited in the dark. Hours became days. On day 4, young Mira Kim asked her father why the aliens had done this. Professor David Kim, who taught ethics at the university, had no answer that made sense. How do you explain annihilation to a child? How do you tell your daughter that some beings see other lives as obstacles to be erased? The children stopped playing. The adults stopped pretending. They sat in the dimness and waited to die. Then, on day 11, the sensors detected something new. Ships entering orbit. Hope and terror warred in every heart. Had the Dominion returned to finish them? A voice crackled through the emergency speakers. Human, speaking with an Earth accent. Redwood Vale survivors. This is the Exploration Vessel Pioneer's Light. We're beginning rescue operations. Transmit your shelter coordinates. We're getting you out. Lena broke down sobbing, clutching Alex so tight he gasped. Around them, people who'd surrendered to death suddenly remember how to hope. The rescue took 6 days. Captain James Rivera and his crew of 42 worked without sleep, cutting through rubble, rigging radiation suits, making trip after trip into the hellscape that had been Redwood Vale. They found Shelter Theta, 7 on day 13. Shelters Omega, 3 and Delta, 9 on days 14 and 15. Of 3.1 million souls, they recovered 52,000 alive. The rest were gone, vaporized in initial strikes or slowly killed by radiation in shelters the rescue teams reached too late. Captain Rivera walked through the ruins with his crew, documenting everything. The melted playground, the crater where the hospital had stood, the fused glass that had once been homes. He recorded every body they found, every face they could identify. Lena and Alex were among the survivors. As their shuttle lifted away from Redwood Vale, Lena pressed her face to the viewport and stared at the blackened scar below. Nothing moved. Nothing lived. Paradise had become a tomb. In the cargo bay, Captain Rivera addressed the survivors, the hollow-eyed, the broken, the ones who'd watched everything burn. "We're taking you to Earth," he said quietly. "You'll receive care, support, safety, and Earth will know what happened here." Among the survivors was Governor Elena Park. She'd stayed at the command center, still broadcasting, still pleading with the Dominion even as the building collapsed. They'd found her 70 hours later, trapped with 9 others, her leg crushed, her body burned. But she'd kept a recorder running. Every communication with the Dominion was preserved, every refusal of mercy, every casual dismissal of human life. Every war crime was documented. The Pioneer's light jumped to FTL, carrying its precious cargo of broken survivors and damning evidence. The journey to Earth would take 3 weeks. Captain Rivera sent the recordings ahead at maximum priority. He'd served in the Earth Defense Force before becoming an explorer. He knew what he was carrying. This wasn't just a rescue mission. This was the spark that would ignite a firestorm. The message reached Earth on a Wednesday morning. Within 6 hours, every human world, every station, every ship in the black had seen the recordings. They watched Governor Park begging for time to evacuate civilians. They heard Veskrul's cold refusal. They saw the bombardment begin. They counted the dead. The United Terran Assembly convened an emergency session. Representatives from every nation, every corporation, every faction. People who'd spent 2 centuries arguing about everything gathered in the Great Hall in Geneva. They took one vote. It was unanimous. Every shipyard in human space received the same order. Every factory, every foundry, every construction facility was repurposed for a single objective. Humanity was going to war, not for territory, not for resources. To send a message that would echo across the cosmos. You do not burn our worlds. You do not murder our children. You do not get away with genocide. Fleet Admiral Chinwei, a quiet woman who'd spent 43 years building exploration vessels, was called from retirement. She accepted command of a fleet that didn't yet exist, but would. Her first order, "I want to meet the survivors." All of them. Lena Torres stood before the Admiral with Alex at her side. Admiral Chin knelt to the boy's level, looking at the healing burns on his arms, the fear still living in his eyes. "I'm sorry for what happened to you," she said softly. "I'm sorry we weren't there to protect you. But I promise you this, the beings who did this will answer for it, and no child, human or alien, will ever have to endure what you endured, not while we still draw breath." Alex looked at this silver-haired woman with sad eyes. "Are you going to kill them all? Like they killed us?" Admiral Chin shook her head. "No, child. We're going to show them that being powerful doesn't mean being cruel. We're going to teach them that justice isn't revenge. But mostly, we're going to make absolutely certain they never do this again." Lena watched the Admiral walk away, not knowing if she believed her. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Humanity was done asking politely. Humanity was done hoping others would show basic decency. The galaxy had mistaken peaceful expansion for weakness. They were about to learn the difference between choosing peace and being incapable of war. Beneath the rust-colored sands of Mars, something ancient stirred to life. Dr. Anya Volkov stood in the command center 3 kilometers underground, watching 40 years of secret work activate before her eyes. Automated factories stretched through tunnels in every direction. Kilometers of machinery designed for one purpose: build warships faster than any enemy could count. She proposed a project 5 decades ago, fresh from university with dreams of protecting humanity from unknown threats. Politicians had laughed. Build entire planets into weapons factories? The cost would be astronomical, the paranoia unnecessary. Then the Kepler Station massacre happened. 47 scientists vanished. Evidence of weapons fire. A cover-up. Suddenly, Dr. Volkov's proposal didn't seem paranoid. It seemed prophetic. The project began with Mars. Self-replicating industrial systems dug deep, extracting metals, building factories that built more factories. Minimal human oversight. Maximum efficiency. Then Titan, Europa, Ganymede, for hidden systems beyond the Kuiper Belt. 6 planets, 15 moons, all connected by quantum-linked command networks. The Forge worlds had slept, waiting. That day arrived when news of Redwood Vale reached Earth. Dr. Volkov received activation codes at 0300 hours. Her hand shook entering them. The command was clear: maximum production, no limits, build the fleet. The Forges woke hungry. Fusion reactors surged to full power. Mining drones shifted from tons per day to tons per second. Factory floors reconfigured for continuous production. The design, Vengeance-class Dreadnoughts. For kilometers of armor, weapons, engines. No luxury. No wasted space. Pure purpose. The hull, layered composite capable of absorbing plasma strikes. The engines, quantum phase drives reverse engineered from ancient alien ruins. The weapons, railguns firing tungsten projectiles at relativistic speeds. Plasma cannons, antimatter torpedoes. Building one took 4 months using traditional methods. The Forge worlds built them in 7 hours. The secret, automation and scale. Every component manufactured simultaneously across hundreds of facilities. Hull sections printed atom by atom. Engines constructed in zero gravity and transported through magnetic tunnels. Weapon systems installed by tireless machines. The first ship emerged from Mars Forge on day 2. By week's end, 600 ships. By month's end, 60,000 Vengeance-class Dreadnoughts operational. Admiral Chin visited Mars on day 35. She walked the factories with Dr. Volkov, watching a new warship emerge every 12 minutes. "Can you really build 600,000? She asked. Dr. Volkov nodded. "We can build 1,000,000 if needed. The only limit is raw materials, and asteroid mining brings in enough to sustain this indefinitely." Another dreadnought rose from the depths. "The Dominion has no idea what's coming," Dr. Volkov said quietly. Admiral Chin watched the ship vanish into orbit. "That's the point. We don't want a fair fight. We want them to understand absolutely and without question that attacking humanity was the worst mistake they ever made." Recruitment centers flooded with volunteers. Everyone who'd seen the footage from Redwood Vale wanted to serve. Veterans emerged from retirement. Youth barely old enough enlisted by the millions. Former rivals stood together. Training was intense but brief. The ships practically flew themselves. Human crews handled decision-making, strategy, the things machines couldn't do. A Vengeance-class Dreadnought needed only 400 personnel. With 60,000 ships operational, 24 million humans served in the fleet. Commander Lena Torres walked into a recruitment office on Earth 9 weeks after rescue. Alex was in a care facility, recovering physically but still screaming from nightmares. She couldn't bring her son peace, but she could make certain it never happened again. The recruiter frowned at her medical files. "Ma'am, you have severe trauma. You're still recovering from radiation exposure. You have a young son who needs you." Lena met his eyes with a gaze that had watched her world burn. "My son needs a galaxy where colonies don't get erased by aliens who think we're insignificant. I'm joining that fleet. Put me wherever you need me." They made her communications officer on the Dreadnought remember them. By month 4, 180,000 Dreadnoughts filled orbital space around Earth and the Forge worlds. At night, people looked up and saw not stars, but the running lights of warships. The sky glittered with humanity's wrath. The Dominion finally noticed. Their intelligence services dismissed early reports. Humanity building hundreds of thousands of warships? Impossible. Had to be propaganda. Then their satellites captured images of the Forge worlds. Mars producing 1 ship every 12 minutes. The numbers defied economic principles. They sent covert operatives. 3 ships disguised as merchants entered the Sol system. They never reported back. Humanity's defense network was more sophisticated than the Dominion realized. The spy ships were detected, tracked, disabled. Their crews captured and held in comfortable detention. The message sent to their governments was simple. We know you're watching. Watch carefully. See what happens when you murder our children. The Dominion Council convened an emergency session. 39 species gathered in their grand chamber, watching surveillance footage, reviewing intelligence. The math was terrifying. By conservative estimates, humanity would have 600,000 warships within a year. The entire Dominion military, 95,000 ships accumulated over centuries. Ambassador Kelrose of the Aquarian Collective addressed the council, his voice modulated by translation. We must negotiate, offer reparations, apologize, do whatever it takes to stop this fleet. War Commander Veskril of the Sorok rose to his full height, contempt radiating. We negotiate with equals. These humans are primitives playing with weapons they don't understand. Our defenses will break them. Ambassador Kelrose's skin flushed with distress. Primitives? They're building more ships in a month than we've built in a century. This is an industrial power unlike anything we've faced. The council argued for 4 days. Humanity sent no diplomats, no peace offers, no threats, just a simple countdown broadcast on all frequencies. Fleet deployment in 7 months. Redwood Vale will be answered. By month 12, 600,000 dreadnoughts were operational. The fleet assembled in the Orc cloud, far from prying eyes. 600,000 warships in perfect formation stretching across light years. Supply ships, medical vessels, transports. 180 million humans crewed the armada, every single one a volunteer. Admiral Chin stood on the bridge of her flagship, remember them, staring at the tactical display. Each dot represented a dreadnought. There were so many the display had to zoom out to show them all. She commanded exploration vessels, research ships, patrol craft. Never anything like this. Commander Torres entered and saluted. Admiral, all ships report ready. Awaiting your order. Chin looked at this woman who'd lost everything and chose to serve rather than break. She looked at her crew, faces of people who believed in justice, who trusted humanity to do the right thing even with overwhelming power. Send the message, she said quietly. Let the galaxy know we're coming. The broadcast went out on every frequency, in every language. Redwood Vale, 3.1 million dead. You will answer. The fleet began to move. 600,000 ships engaging FDL drives in synchronized sequence, lighting up the dark between stars. They didn't sneak. They didn't hide. They announced their passage through every system. The long march had begun, and at its end, the Dominion would learn what it meant to provoke humanity. The jump flash was visible across 4 star systems. 600,000 ships exiting FDL simultaneously created a radiation burst that lit up sensor arrays for hundreds of light years. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't meant to be. Admiral Chin stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display update. All ships accounted for. 0 losses. They were now 3,500 light years from Earth. 43 jumps to Dominion Prime. The fleet moved like a migration of metal leviathans. Each jump took them closer. Each jump coordinated to the microsecond. After each jump, they paused. Ships recharged FDL drives. Crews rested. Engineers performed maintenance. The first system they passed through was Valoria, home to the peaceful Lyra species. When the human fleet appeared, every Lyra vessel fled to the far side of their star. Admiral Chin sent a message. People of Valoria, we mean no harm. We're passing through on our way to Dominion space. We'll be gone in 8 hours. Please accept our apologies for the intrusion. The Lyra government responded with confusion and terror. They'd never seen a fleet this large. When the humans jumped away exactly 8 hours later, having touched nothing, the Lyra sent recordings to every species they knew. The message spread. Humanity was on the move, showing restraint even in fury. The second system, Kareth, for a minor Dominion outpost. 400 Dominion ships stationed there. When the human fleet arrived, the Dominion commander evacuated immediately, broadcasting frantic warnings. Admiral Chen let them go. By the seventh jump, the psychological impact spread faster than the fleet itself. Independent traders saw opportunity, offering supplies at competitive prices. Admiral Chen authorized purchases, establishing trade relationships that would matter after the war. The Dominion tried spinning the situation. Their propaganda claimed the fleet was holographic projections, desperate bluffs. Nobody believed them. Commander Torres monitored galactic communications from Remember Them, watching Dominion propaganda with cold amusement. She listened to Governor Parks, recording 100 times. Each time the anger burned hotter. The fleet continued, jump by jump, system by system. Each appearance announced, Redwood Vale, 3.1 million dead. You will answer. By the 15th jump, independent species sent support messages. The Vesker, who'd lost a colony to Dominion enforcement decades ago, transmitted gratitude that someone was standing up. The Halim offered star charts and intelligence. Admiral Chen accepted the intelligence carefully. She didn't want allies driven by revenge, but wouldn't refuse information that could save lives. The Dominion military scrambled. They pulled ships from patrol routes, border stations, defensive positions. The mobilization was chaotic. They hadn't fought a major war in centuries. By the 25th jump, halfway to Dominion Prime, the psychological warfare was working. The Xipheron, an insectoid species known for logical survival, withdrew from the Dominion. Their hive mind issued a statement. The humans show overwhelming force and remarkable restraint. They announce movements. They harm no civilians. This is justice, not conquest. We will not die for the Sorok's crimes. The withdrawal removed 18,000 ships from Dominion defenses. More importantly, it showed others that abandoning the Dominion was an option. The Aquarians tried diplomacy. Ambassador Kelrose sent message to Admiral Chun, eloquent and desperate. He explained the attack was ordered by Sorok commanders without authorization. He offered to arrest Veskro, offered reparations, territory, anything. Admiral Chen's response was brief. Ambassador, we understand not all Dominion species supported the attack. However, it was carried out under Dominion authority, in the name of Dominion law. The organization is responsible. We'll arrive at Dominion Prime in 70 days. You have until then to prepare surrender terms. We won't negotiate before arrival. We won't negotiate after if you choose to fight. Kelrose tried pressing further. Chun cut the connection. The Sorok response was predictable. War Commander Veskril, now Supreme Military Commander, issued defiance. He called humanity weak for announcing movements instead of striking like warriors. He promised the Dominion Defense Fleet would send humans running. Veskril concentrated forces at Dominion Prime, pulling ships from every corner, abandoning border stations, staking everything on one decisive battle. By the 35th jump, the human fleet crossed into Dominion territory. 6 jumps from Dominion Prime. Tension suffocated the galaxy. Admiral Chen called a holographic conference of all ship captains. 600,000 officers appeared in virtual space. Captains, Chen began, voice calm, we're 6 days from Dominion Prime. We'll face their full might. They outnumber us in actually nothing. We outnumber them 7-1. We have better technology, coordination. We'll win. She paused, looking across the sea of faces. But winning isn't our goal. Justice is. Ensuring Redwood Vale never happened to anyone, human or alien, ever again. That means we fight with precision. Minimize casualties. Disable rather than destroy. Show the galaxy that having power doesn't mean using it carelessly. A captain spoke up. Admiral, with respect, they killed 3 million civilians. Why show mercy? Chen nodded slowly. Because, Captain, we're not them. They killed civilians because it was convenient, because they didn't value human life. We'll show them we value all life. When this is over, when the galaxy looks at what happened, they'll see a species that could have committed genocide and chose not to. That's the reputation we're building. The captains absorbed this. Some agreed immediately. Others struggled. All understood the weight. The fleet made its final jumps. The Dominion Defense Fleet was fully assembled. 62,000 ships in defensive formation around their capital. They'd abandoned everything else, bet everything on this battle. It wasn't enough. It was never going to be enough. The human fleet emerged from its final jump at the system's edge. 600,000 dreadnoughts in perfect battle formation. The tactical displays showed both fleets clearly. The disparity was breathtaking. Admiral Chen opened a channel. This is Fleet Admiral Chen Wei of the United Terran Forces. We've arrived seeking justice for Redwood Vale and 3.1 million civilians murdered under your authority. You have 1 hour to surrender. Transmit locations of all military installations. Prepare to turn over all personnel involved in the attack. If you choose to fight, we'll disable your fleet and take what we came for. You won't win. Don't die for leaders who committed war crimes. Veskrul's response dripped with rage. You speak of justice while invading our space with weapons of war. We'll teach you the price of arrogance. This is Dominion space. You have no authority. Admiral Chen sighed. She'd hoped reason would prevail. Very well. All ships, battle stations. Remember your orders. Disable, don't destroy. Protect civilians. Show them what humanity can do. The countdown began. 60 minutes to the largest space battle in galactic history. Across the fleet, weapons powered up. Shields activated. Crews prepared. Torres at her station. Thinking of Alex, hopefully asleep on Earth, dreaming of better things. She thought of Redwood Vale, the parks, the schools. All gone. She keyed her microphone. All ships. This is remember them. For Redwood Vale. For the 3 million. Make them answer. 600,000 ships echoed. For Redwood Vale, the hour ended. Veskrul gave the order to attack. The Dominion defense fleet surged forward, weapons blazing, and the human fleet, patient, precise, utterly overwhelming, went to work. The first Dominion plasma volley crossed the void, superheated energy meant to shatter the human vanguard. The shot struck human shields and dissipated harmlessly. Human shield technology, refined from ancient ruins, operated on principles the Dominion had never encountered. Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with the calm of someone who'd already won. All ships, execute formation Omega-9. The fleet split into 9 massive formations, each containing over 65,000 ships. They moved with precision that should have been impossible. Quantum link systems allowing perfect coordination. The first formation engaged head-on, drawing fire. The second and third swept the flanks at speeds the Dominion couldn't match. The fourth through ninth arranged themselves in a sphere around the entire battle space, cutting off retreat. Veskrul watched from his flagship warrior's pride as the humans executed their maneuver. He'd fought dozens of battles, commanded hundreds of thousands. He'd never seen anything move like this. All ships. Concentrate fire on the leading formation. Break through. 12,000 Dominion ships focused weapons on the human vanguard. Plasma lances. Missiles. Kinetic rounds. It should have been devastating. The human ships barely slowed. Shields absorbed damage. Point defense systems shredded missiles. Ships that took damage rotated back, while fresh vessels took their place. Then humanity returned fire. Railgun volleys synchronized across thousands of ships. Tungsten projectiles at relativistic speeds, each carrying energy measured in megatons. They didn't strike randomly. Each shot calculated, targeted at specific systems. Engines, weapons, shield generators. The Dominion vanguard began fragmenting. Not exploding, systematically disabled. Ships lost power and drifted. Weapons went offline. Crews abandoned vessels, suddenly dead in space. Disable, don't destroy, Chen reminded. These are soldiers following orders. We're not here for revenge. Torres monitored casualty reports. The Dominion was losing ships by hundreds, but crew survival exceeded 92%. Human targeting was surgical, destroying capability while preserving lives. The battle raged for hours. The outcome was never in doubt. By hour 3, 25,000 Dominion ships were disabled and drifting. The remaining 37,000 were scattered, Formation broken. Command in chaos. Vescrel continued ordering attacks, but fewer ships responded. Admiral Chen opened a channel. War Commander Vescrel, you've lost. Your ships are disabled. Your defense is broken. You can continue fighting and watch warriors die, or surrender and save lives. There's no shame in recognizing defeat. Vescrel's response carried rage and pain. Sorok, do not surrender. We die with honor. Then you'll die, Chen said quietly, and your warriors will die, and it'll accomplish nothing. Is that the honor you want? Wasting lives in a battle already lost. Silence. On Vescrel's bridge, officers looked to him. Young warriors who believed in Sorok's supremacy now faced death for pride. One officer, a female named Kethera, spoke carefully. Commander, the humans speak truth. We cannot win. If we continue, we lose everything. If we surrender, we live to rebuild. Vescrel turned on her with fury. You speak of surrender? You dishonor your ancestors. Kethera met his eyes. I speak of survival, Commander. Our ancestors value wisdom as much as courage. There's no wisdom in dying for a lost battle. Across the Dominion fleet, similar conversations happened. Captains looking at disabled ships, wounded crews, overwhelming odds. The choice between pride and survival. One by one, Dominion ships broadcast surrender signals. First a few, then dozens, then hundreds. Vescrel watched his fleet abandon the fight, his bridge silent except for failing system alerts. He led Dominion forces to complete defeat. Finally, he transmitted surrender. This is War Commander Vescrel to all Dominion forces. Ceasefire. The battle is over. The shooting stopped. Space fell silent except for engine hum and emergency transmissions. 62,000 Dominion ships, most disabled, all defeated. 600,000 human ships, barely scratched. Final count. 3,800 Dominion ships destroyed from accidents and collisions. 58,200 disabled. Crew casualties remarkably low. Human fleet, 0 ships destroyed. 51 needing repairs. Total casualties, 21 dead, 247 wounded. It wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. The Sorok War Memorial stood as a monument to centuries of victories. Now it became the site of their reckoning. Vescrel gathered his most loyal warriors, 12,000 who pledged to fight to death. When Admiral Chen heard, she sighed. She'd hoped reason would prevail. Prepare Marine deployment. Surgical extraction. Minimum casualties, both sides. Show them we can take what we want without becoming monsters. The operation was planned with obsessive precision. For 1,000 Marines in powered armor, non-lethal weapons prioritized, would assault the memorial. Goal: capture Vescrel and war criminals while minimizing deaths. The assault began at dawn. Drop pods screamed through atmosphere like meteors, landing in perfect perimeter around the structure. Vescrel watched from the highest tower as humans deployed. He'd expected orbital bombardment. Instead, they landed troops. They were coming face to face. Let them come, he growled. Let them see what it means to fight Sorok in close combat. The Marines advanced in coordinated groups. Powered armor made them stronger, faster. They carried EMP rifles, sonic stunners, and, last resort, conventional firearms loaded with wounding rounds. The Sorok opened fire first. Plasma rifles and kinetic weapons hammered the advancing Marines. Human armor absorbed most damage, but 4 Marines went down in the first exchange. Armor breached, bodies wounded but alive. The human response was measured. Stun grenades arced through the air, disorienting defenders. EMPs disabled weapons. When Sorok charged in close combat, as their warrior culture demanded, Marines met them with training designed for this exact scenario. A Sorok warrior, 3 meters tall, armed with plasma blade, charged at Marine Sergeant David Martinez. He'd been a teacher on Redwood Vale. Survived Shelter Theta 7. Trained 8 months for this moment. He dodged the blade, used his armor strength to grapple the warrior, deployed a contact stunner. The Sorok dropped, unconscious but alive. The battle raged through the memorial for 4 hours. Room by room, floor by floor. Marines advanced using non-lethal methods wherever possible, switching to lethal force only when lives were directly threatened. Casualty count climbed slowly. 59 Sorok warriors dead, most killed when they forced Marines into impossible situations. 278 Sorok wounded. 934 captured alive. On the human side, 15 Marines dead, 71 wounded. The disparity was stark. Humans weren't trying to slaughter enemies. They were capturing war criminals while preserving every life possible, including enemy lives. Veskril made a stand beneath a massive statue depicting a Sorok warrior triumphant over defeated foes. It seemed almost mocking now. The chamber doors blasted open. Admiral Chinwei walked through, wearing no armor, carrying only her ceremonial sidearm. Behind her, Marines held position but didn't enter. Veskril stared in disbelief. You come to face me unarmed? You insult me with weakness. Chin walked calmly toward him. I come to show you I'm not afraid, that I don't need weapons or armor. You killed 3 million civilians and called it strength. I crossed a galaxy with 600,000 warships and barely harmed anyone. Tell me again who's weak. Veskril roared and charged, his powerful limbs reaching for the Admiral, warrior instincts demanding he crush this arrogant human. Chun didn't draw her weapon. She stood perfectly still. Marines raised weapons, but Chin held up a hand. Hold fire. Veskril's clawed hands closed around Chin's throat, lifting her off the ground. It would be easy. So easy. But Chin didn't struggle. She looked into his eyes with calm sadness. Go ahead, she said, voice strained but steady. Kill me. Prove violence is all you understand. Show your warriors you learn nothing. Veskril's grip tightened. This human should be afraid, should beg for mercy. Instead, she offered herself as sacrifice to prove a point. Around the chamber, remaining Sorok warriors watched in stunned silence. One, a young warrior named Vector, spoke with confusion. Commander, she doesn't fight, doesn't offend. This isn't battle. This is execution. Another, an old veteran named Crash, lowered his weapon. The Admiral speaks truth. We killed defenseless civilians and called enforcement. She could have killed us from orbit, but sent soldiers instead. Which of us showed true strength? Veskril looked around at his warriors. Proud Sorok bred for combat, trained from birth to value honor and strength. And they were questioning him. He released Chun, letting her drop. She caught herself, straightened her uniform, met his gaze without fear. You should have destroyed us, Veskril said, voice heavy with confusion and defeat. We would have, if humanity attacked a Sorok world. We have burned every human planet in revenge. Why didn't you? Chin rubbed her throat where bruises formed. Because revenge is easy. Justice is hard. Because killing you accomplishes nothing except more hate. And because I want the galaxy to see that humans can have overwhelming power and still choose mercy. She gestured to Marines at the door. These warriors could kill everyone in this room in seconds. But they're holding fire, waiting, hoping you'll surrender peacefully. That is strength. The strength to control your power. The strength to choose when not to use it. Veskril looked at his warriors, at the Marines, at the Admiral standing before him, bruised but unbroken. His entire worldview was collapsing. Everything he believed about strength, about honor, about wielding power was being challenged by this old human who refused to kill him. Slowly, movements feeling like lifting mountains, Veskril removed his weapons and placed them on the ground. I surrender, he said, words tasting of ash and shame. I surrender to your justice. Remaining Sorok warriors followed. Weapons clattered. Proud warriors knelt. The battle was over. The trial began 5 months later on a neutral world, presided over by judges from unaffiliated species. Proceedings broadcast across the galaxy. Evidence was overwhelming. Recordings from Redwood Vale showed orders, refusal to allow evacuation, deliberate targeting of civilians. Veskril didn't deny anything. I gave the orders, he said when asked. I believed humans were primitives who needed to learn their place. I believed showing strength would prevent future conflicts. I was wrong. I am guilty. Judges deliberated 1 week. Verdict: Unanimous guilty on all counts: genocide, war crimes, crimes against sapient beings. Sentence: life imprisonment with the condemned, rebuilding what they destroyed. Vescril and 183 convicted officers were transported to Redwood Vale. The world was still dead, still poisoned, still scarred. They would spend their lives working to restore it using Dominion technology to clean soil, replant forests, rebuild cities. They would never see it alive again. But perhaps future generations would. The Dominion military was disbanded, reformed under strict limitations. No offensive weapons. No fleets larger than system defense required. Human observers stationed at every major installation. The occupation lasted 6 years. Human forces remained not as conquerors but peacekeepers. They repaired battle damage, established trade, shared medical technology, helped rebuild infrastructure. It confused many species. Conquerors were supposed to exploit the defeated, take resources, impose harsh terms. Instead, humanity was helping, building schools, training engineers, offering aid to worlds that had been part of the alliance that attacked them. Ambassador Kelrose met with Admiral Chin during Year 4. "I don't understand your species," the aquatic diplomat said through his translator. "You had power to dominate completely. Why didn't you?" Chin smiled. "Because, Ambassador, we learned from our own history. On Earth, we fought wars for millennia, built empires, and watched them fall. And we learned that peace built on fear doesn't last. It takes one generation to forget fear, and the cycle starts again." She looked out at Dominion Prime, where human and Dominion workers rebuilt a damaged station together. But peace built on mutual respect, on shared values, on understanding we're stronger together. That peace can last. That's what we're building. The Terran Defense Fleet didn't disband. The 600,000 Dreadnoughts remained operational, stationed across human space and former Dominion borders. They patrolled trade routes, responded to emergencies, served as constant reminder. Humanity could do this again, could build another fleet, cross the galaxy, defeat any enemy. But humanity chose not to, chose to be protectors, not conquerors. Other species noticed. Independent worlds that stayed neutral began approaching humanity for alliances, not from fear, but respect. Humanity had shown the galaxy something unprecedented, a species with power to dominate but wisdom not to. Trade routes expanded. Cultural exchanges flourished. Human universities accepted alien students. Human engineers helped build infrastructure on alien worlds. Slowly, carefully, a new galactic community formed. The Dominion itself changed. The name remained, but purpose shifted. Instead of military alliance enforcing order through violence, it became voluntary association working together for mutual benefit. The Sorok, once military backbone, became peacekeepers, using warrior culture to protect rather than conquer. 12 years after the burning, the memorial on Redwood Vale was completed. The world had been terraformed through decades of work. Prisoners and volunteers from across the galaxy. It was alive again, green and beautiful, a testament to what could be rebuilt from ashes. The memorial, a simple design, a wall of black stone, for kilometers long, inscribed with 3.1 million names. Every person who died when the colony burned. Each name carefully researched, each life honored. People came from across the galaxy. Human survivors who'd lost family. Alien species who'd heard the story, even Sorok warriors seeking to understand the cause of their former path. At the wall's base, an inscription in 39 languages representing every former Dominion species. They were innocent. They were defenseless. They were ours. Never again, for anyone. Admiral Chen Wei, now retired in age, visited the memorial on the 12th anniversary. Lena Torres and her son Alex, now 19, stood beside her. Alex had been too young to remember much of Redwood Vale, but he'd grown up with the stories, the weight of being a survivor. "Do you think it was worth it?" Alex asked the Admiral quietly. "Everything that happened, the war, the occupation, all of it." Chin looked at the names on the wall. People who never got to grow old, see children graduate, live peaceful lives they'd worked for. I don't know if anything could be worth this, she admitted. But I know if we'd done nothing, if your mother and the others were the only memorial, these deaths would have meant nothing. At least now the galaxy has changed. At least now species think twice before harming civilians. At least now there's hope for something better. A Sorok approached, moving with careful respect. Vector, one of the warriors who'd surrendered at the war memorial. He'd spent 12 years restoring Redwood Vale. Sentence completed. He came as a free citizen. Admiral Chun, Commander Torres, young Alex, he said to his translator. I have no right to speak to you, no right to stand here, but I wanted you to know, what happened here changed my species. We were taught strength meant dominating others. Now we teach our children strength means the courage to show mercy. Because of Redwood Vale. Because of you. Lena looked at this alien warrior, one of the species that destroyed her world. She should hate him, want him to suffer. But looking at his genuine remorse, the years spent making amends, she found something else. The beings who ordered this were wrong, she said carefully. But you helped rebuild. You tried to make it right. That takes different courage. Vector bowed deeply. Sorok gestured of respect. I can never make it right, but I can spend my life trying. That's what Redwood Vale taught me. He walked away, leaving the humans to their remembrance. Around the memorial, hundreds of beings from dozens of species moved quietly, reading names, leaving offerings, reflecting on what was lost and learned. A young alien child from a species called a Vesker asked her father why there were so many human ships in the sky. The father, who'd lived through the war and aftermath, looked up at the Terran defense fleet maintaining eternal watch. Because they want us to remember, he said softly, not to fear them, but to remember that peace is a choice. And they'll make sure we all keep choosing it. Admiral Chin stood before the memorial as the sun set over Redwood Vale. The world was beautiful again, alive again, full of hope, but it would never be the same. The names on the wall would never fade. The memory would never die. And that was the point. Humanity had shown the galaxy what happened when you mistook kindness for weakness. They'd built the largest fleet in galactic history, crossed 18,000 light years to deliver justice, defeated their enemies, then helped them rebuild, proven that being powerful didn't mean being cruel, that having ability to destroy didn't mean you should, that the strongest species wasn't the one who could inflict the most pain, but the one who could control their power and choose mercy even when revenge was easier. The galaxy would remember Redwood Vale, remember the 3.1 million dead, remember the 600,000 dreadnoughts that came seeking justice, remember that humanity offered peace with one hand and held a sword in the other, and every species, human and alien, would understand the message. We choose peace. But don't mistake that choice for inability. Don't test us. Don't make us prove again what we're capable of. Because if you burn our worlds, if you harm our innocent, if you force us to cross the galaxy again, we will come, not in anger, not in hate, but in cold determination of a species that learns sometimes peace must be defended with overwhelming force. We will come, we will win, and we will show you mercy even when you showed us none. That is who humanity is. That's what the galaxy learned. And that's why, in the years that followed, peace spread across the stars. Not because everyone loved each other, not because conflicts disappeared, but because everyone understood some lines once crossed would bring consequences beyond imagination. And nobody wanted to be the next species that learned that lesson. Admiral Chin placed her hand on the memorial wall, feeling names carved in stone. Rest well, she whispered to the dead. Your deaths meant something. The galaxy is better because we refuse to let you be forgotten. She turned and walked away. An old woman who'd carried the weight of 600,000 ships and chosen to use that power wisely. Behind her, the memorial stood eternal, a reminder of what was lost and what was saved. And above, silent and watchful, the Terran defense fleet maintained its guard. Not threatening, not aggressive, just there, always there, reminding the galaxy, we are humanity. We choose peace. But we are not weak. Never again would anyone make the mistake of thinking otherwise. For more such thrilling science fiction stories, Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Starborn Tales.